We're going to look at 3 different variants of basically a clove hitch, if you take a look at that. One of them is like an evil twin of the clove hitch, which does have its uses. And the third one is like the more sensible sibling to the clove hitch. They're all related. So there's a lot of history to the clove hitch. It goes back to ancient times, ancient Greeks, Phoenicians, Romans, maybe further back. I'm not sure if you would see in a pyramid wall one of those feathers, an alligator, a pharaoh, and then the clove hitch, but it wouldn't surprise me. We normally see these knots tied horizontally. I actually tie them more often vertically when I'm using them. I'm going to show them this way because they're easy to show. I'll show the vertical. Come on along with me. Let's take a look at the clove hitch. Why do we want the clove hitch? Often it's used to start a lash, or when we're suspending things, a ridge line, that sort of thing. You can do one on one end. There are lots of ways to do things when you're starting with your rope. Start with a little bit more than you thought you needed, because we're going to have to wrap around your post. So if you wrap it around once, you need to know the diameter or guess it, and need at least probably 3 times more of that rope. This is only double, so it wraps around and we're not quite there. We actually want to bring that probably about here, so we have a tag or working end to work with. And what you can do is you're going to hold your line here, so I'm going to hold it from this side and pull that around and go on a diagonal and take a good 45 degrees. And when you come back around the back, so we'll look at the back here, we've got a diagonal coming around this way. We're going to bring it back around the front and cross it. You want that X pattern right here. That's important to the knot. And what we're doing is we're keeping the standing end here out of the way. This is wrapping around the back, and we're coming up around. And what you can do is either grab your fingers, it's going to block the shot, but get a thumb underneath there and slide that up underneath, and making sure that the rope is not twisted around this side. That's a whole different knot tied by mistake. Really hard to get undone. We're going to look at that, but then we can pull that up. So you've got that cross pattern. Push these together and tighten that down. And from there, it's a pretty decent knot. Cinch that up, and that's going to be good enough for most general purpose things. And it doesn't matter if you make your knot cross this way or this way. The important part is to start with a cross. Really the same knot, just tied from a different angle. I'm just going to take a little bit more than we think we need. You can always clean that up. I'm going upwards here. Okay, it's not going to matter. Holding it from the back end with my index finger, coming with that little X pattern. Now holding it here, and then we've got our loose line. You might see this easier. It's okay to let it go loose. I'm just pulling this up to slide my rope underneath. Okay, because this is going to go for a ridge line, it's going to get pulled across here, and this is going to get pulled across here. We still end up with that same X pattern, a little bit more rope than we need. And if you look on the back, you still want to dress that up, pull it tight, And now we're ready for our ridgeline or whatever else you're trying to tie. We're going to take this, we're going to push our hands together, like so, okay? And we get this loop, and we want to do the same thing. Just push your hand towards the other line here, and basically have the two similar loops where the left side is on the top. I'm going to take the second loop that I made and pass it underneath, and just keep that space open, and slide it over top, and just dress things up. And what you just tied really quickly was a clove hitch. Time to take a look at the mischievous brother of the clove hitch, the constrictor knot, and often tied by mistake, much like the granny knot with the reef knot. Maybe that's how some of the best things are discovered, little accidents, but this knot is a real big pain in the butt to get undone. Let's have a look. So when you're going to do a clove hitch, take a little more than you thought you would need, and maybe take a little bit more when you're doing one of the variants. We're going to do that crossover. Now in this case we could have used the same amount as the regular clove hitch. Now from here we just pull up and feed that underneath, and we'd have a clove hitch. Instead of coming up in through that X crossed area that you can see here, hopefully, yeah, that's a clove hitch. We're actually going to come over this line instead of between, and this is where it gets really interesting. Now we're going to pull that out like we normally would, so the back end's going to look the same. You're going to see these two lines. We can dress them up. You take a look, this line is now twisted over instead of underneath, and when you pull down and pull up, so just to tighten it up, it comes together, and you've got a more interesting pattern. You've got an X with an extra line hooked underneath it, and you've got even more friction to hold this in place, and when you pull down, it'll tighten and tighten, and it can be very hard to undo. This is the more sensible sibling of the clove hitch. It's going to be the double clove hitch. So you're going to tie that in the same manner you would, getting that X pattern in there. So get that, bring it over, but what we're going to do, we're going to go around one more time, and not enough rope. So remember, always start with more than you think you need and then go a little bit more. So we're going to start with that X pattern, and because it's the more sensible sibling of the clove hitch, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to have to come around a second time and see how we get that second cross. Now on the back, you're going to see this other line here, and we'll see that dressed up in a second. Now we still do the same thing, so we're going to need to pull that out, get a finger under there, leave enough room, slide that up underneath, dress that up. So on the front, you still have that nice X. On the back, a little bit messy till you pull it together. And in theory, you've got more friction in your hitch, so that should be more secure. Thanks for coming to BlindGuy Urban Bushcraft. I'm Jay, and this is part of the Scouts OAS Knot series with a focus mostly on the clove hitch. Yeah, the evil brother with a bad rap. Sorry, Loki. I mean, it's one of my scouting youth. Hey, you're not evil. But this knot can be useful, but it does tighten down, remember. The more sensible brother of the clove hitch. A double clove hitch also can get a little tough to undo, but easier than a constrictor over time for some more security if you need that. Please like, subscribe, and hey, get out and make your own videos.